Hello there, this is the beginning of a reading vlog for this month. I am currently reading my book club pick, which is Dracula by Bram Stoker. I'm very excited to get into this. I don't really know what to expect from it because I haven't read it before and I don't really know a lot about it. I've never actually seen a Dracula film in my life, so I'm not too sure what to expect from it, but I'm very excited, so I'm going to give this a read. I am going to change up my bookcases. So as you can see, there are so many books stuffed into both of these cases, and I've read all these books and the bottom is atrociously double stacked. And so I've got another white bookshelf in my bedroom, and I think I might put it here. So move all this stuff out of the way and then put another shelf next to it. Here is my bookshelf in the bedroom. So I'm going to take all these books down, I'm going to dismantle this and then put it in the front room. Ta-da! It's there! I got both these bookcases for £15 in a charity shop when I moved to Bristol. They are IKEA ones and I really like them. So I think this looks quite nice together. I'm going to take everything off this shelf and then try and like move the books around a little bit and see how it looks. It's done! I really like it. I think it looks a lot neater, a lot cleaner. These are all the books that I have read. I'm double stacking at the bottom still because there's just too many books for the bookcase, unfortunately, but I like that I can see all the books that I've read a lot clearer. I've just put them in author order, so I've got like all my Anne Cassidys, all my Jodie Picoults, all my Worst Witch books, Alice Walker, Tracy Chevalier. I've just grouped it into author books. Over here I've put classics on this shelf, and then this shelf underneath is just books that I've only read one book from the author but that I really liked all the way along here, and then the bottom shelf is the books that I'm kind of like meh about or I didn't really like that much. I love it. I like my elephant feature that I've added here. I like my elephant on top. I think it looks really, I'm so like pleased with how it's come together. And over here I've got a little Hunchback of Notre Dame thing. So there's my Hunchback of Notre Dame. I've got Frollo. I've got a little Hunchback of Notre Dame souvenir plate. Eiffel Tower. I'm all over it. Down there I've got my Tudor books. So that's where I put my Anne Boleyn and a little Tower of London statue. I really like how it's turned out. It's been quite a few days since I last spoke to you, but I am still reading Dracula. I'm on page 119 and I'm really enjoying it so far. I've tabbed loads of like beautiful moments that I loved within the writing. I tried to read Dracula a few years ago and I just thought there were so many like subplots going on within it and I just wasn't that interested in it. So this time round I've decided to make notes for it. As you can see, these are my notes so far. I've got like a page and a half of notes just so I can kind of keep plot of the different stories, because you have the story of someone called Jonathan going to Count Dracula and in Transylvania to go and help him buy a house in London, and then that plot kind of like just stops, pauses, and then you have another plot of Mina, who is his fiance. Like, even I'm getting a bit confused saying it. So Mina, his fiance, is writing to her friend Lucy and they're both talking about like their engagements and stuff, and then Mina goes to visit Lucy, and then Lucy, maybe something happens with a vampire with Lucy and it's all like, oh, what's happening? And then Mina gets a call, Jonathan's in a hospital now, go and see him in the hospital. So she goes to the hospital to see him. But then there's a subplot of another one of a man who works in a mental hospital, and mental asylum they call it, and there's this man under his care who's acting really bizarrely. So there's different plots, but the man who works in the asylum, how he's linked to everyone else, is Lucy, who's Mina's friend, who Mina is Jonathan's fiance. He proposed to her and Lucy turned him down. So everyone's connected in some kind of weird way. But there's just a lot of like different things, and then it just cut into a completely different plot of they find this bow, it comes up and there's a man dead tied to the steering wheel, and then they start reading out this man's journal. So we go into this story of this man who isn't connected to anyone, just kind of like reading out his journal, and then you kind of think, oh okay, something's happening that links back to Dracula. It's just a lot going on, and I'm only 119 pages in. How many pages is mine? It's like 429. So I'm guessing we're gonna have loads of like mini adventures like that, different stories going off, but I am enjoying it. I'm loving the writing at certain points. The only bits that I'm finding a bit slow is the asylum bits. I'm just not as invested into the asylum. I'm invested in Mina and Jonathan being together, Mina and Lucy's strong friendship, what happened to Lucy when they went to Whitby. We're not quite sure, but we are, because I know the story of Dracula. I'm invested, but I'm just, it's going off in all different types. It's like me, like when I'm trying to talk about something and then I go off at different stuff, it feels a bit like that, but I am still enjoying it. Just a little reading update, I'm still really enjoying Dracula. I do feel though it goes all about the houses. So I was enjoying Jonathan and Dracula, and now we've gone everywhere but there, and we're not really talking about Jonathan anymore. He's sick in the hospital, God knows where Dracula is. We're just in this completely different realm and story, and within it also has newspaper interviews and stuff. So it'll say the Pall Mall Gazette, and then it'll just have articles from the Gazette in here. So this one's The Escaped Wolf, and obviously these articles have stuff to do with the main plot, so it's a little bit like kind of treasure hunting. You're like, oh, this is going to be an interesting like thing within the plot of the book. But there's so many different people's diaries. I mean, we got Lucy, we got Mina, we got Dr. Stewart all going on, and then Dr. Stewart's got this patient who we don't really know about. Van Helsing, who's Dr. Stewart's friend, has now turned up to try and help Lucy, and Lucy's got fiance Arthur. Like, so many characters and so many different people we're just kind of going bang, 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 bang into, and then it's going kind of round in a circle back into those people. But I'm just like, I want more. Like, just as I'm getting into someone's like journal entry, that ends and it's someone completely different with a completely different thing to say. I am still enjoying it though. I think it is very suspenseful. I am today going to view some houses because me and Dom really want to buy our own place because we rent at the moment. So I'm going to take this with me, and I'm going to do a bit of reading by the water and get some more of it read, but it does slog on a little bit. I am enjoying it, but I do feel it's a project. It's not a book you can kind of like on your lunch break, oh, I'll read a bit and then pick it back up. You need to really kind of concentrate with it a bit more, but I am enjoying it. It is 8:30 p.m. This is normally the time that I wind down and get a book. So I'm going to read some Dracula, but I haven't actually had dinner or anything yet because Dom is working late. He didn't know he was. I've done a whole meal and the boy's not here. But I am going to read some Dracula. Also, I do have a lamp on. It's quite light outside. I like to make my front room a cave. I don't know why I do this. It's light outside. I can have the lights on. This could be nice and like light. But because it's got low ceilings, it's kind of like a little cave. So I put little candles out, like a little shrine, a little candle shrine, so that I can read by candlelight. Is that weird? Does anyone else like to make their home a dungeon? So I'm waiting for Dom to come back. I'm a little bit frightened because I don't like being... Look how dark it is out there, ready? That's my hole. I know I'm a grown adult woman, but I'm still a little bit afraid of the dark. Like, I don't know, it's just the unknown. I don't like it, I don't like it, I don't like it. Oh my god, where's Lola? Oh, Lola, just in a separate room from me as always. I'm gonna sit in here with Lola. There she is, the queen. Just like, get out of my room. Look how beautiful you are, Lola. Such a beautiful cat. Imagine if she was just like, I know I'm beautiful. Reading Dracula by candlelight by yourself in a dark flat, I'm not sure I would recommend that. Like, I feel chills, and maybe this is like how creepy the book is. This is like a good thing for the book, but I feel little chills. I'm like, why is that escape? I'm at the escaped wolf bit. Doesn't that go on? But anyway, I'm at the escaped wolf bit, and I'm like, what's gonna happen with this escaped wolf? Here is my candle shrine that I like to do. I love this. It's actually, I think, supposed to be like a picnic blanket thing. It's got these really nice tassels on the bottom, but I just think it looks really witchy, don't you, with like the circle in the middle. So I laid the table, but it's still not here. Oh, that one's like blood. That's a bit of a Dracula one. Okay, we'll play that one out. Here is the dinner that I cooked tonight. So this is stir fry veg. This is salmon with, I cooked the salmon and then I put it in with broccoli and red onion and then put a cheese sauce over the top, and I'm going to crisp that up. It's a kind of a salmon bake there. I have apples, we're not having them. Saute potatoes, and then I did a Nutella. This was supposed to be chocolate brownies. I mean, it's kind of chocolate brownies, but I only had a round dish. So I'm going to call it Nutella brownie cake there. If he doesn't come home, I'm just going to eat all of this myself. A reading update. I haven't spoken to you in a few days. I'm still reading Dracula, but I'm not that like motivated to pick it up. Also, I'm wearing like Minnie Mouse ears because I wear these around in my house because I like to keep the hair off my face, so I put them on when I'm like cooking and just around my flat, and then I forget that I'm wearing them because I wear them so much when I'm in the house that my doorbell will ring and I'll go and get the post, because I get quite a lot of post from the postman because some of you send me letters and I get stuff from publishers, and I'm talking to the postman and I'm talking to my neighbours, and I go back into my flat and then I realise I'm wearing Minnie Mouses in public and everyone thinks I'm mad. Anyway, still reading Dracula, complete tangent there. Not really connecting to Dracula. I have tableaus of bits, and when I'm reading Dracula, I'm really enjoying it and loving it. When I then put the book down, I'm not motivated to pick it back up, and I think that's because there's so many different characters. So you're kind of invested in like Mina, and you're like, oh, what's going to happen with Mina? Oh wait, okay, it's Lucy now. Oh, it's Dr. Stewart. And there's just so many different characters that there's not one central person that I'm like, I really need to find out what's going to happen to them, what's going to happen with their storyline, because there's different people going on. I mean, you could say Lucy is a central role right now because she is the one that has been bitten, she's the infected one, but then Dr. Stewart has that patient, and then what's happened to Jonathan? He's in a hospital now. There's just a lot going on. Yeah, I am enjoying it when I'm reading it, but I'm not that motivated to pick it up. I'm on page 170 and this is over 400 pages, so I need to step up my reading and read like a good chunk of this today. I have read some other books in the meantime. I haven't been reading Dracula, I've just been reading everything but Dracula. I read a Bramley Hedge book. This is The Summer Story by Jill Barklam. Jill Barklam wrote and illustrated the Bramley Hedge books, which are children's books about these mice that live in Bramley Hedge, and they are just so gorgeous, and the illustrations are just absolutely stunning with these little mice. And this one is a wedding one, and I tabbed a moment that I loved. So these mice get married. Let me show you like the wedding procession. Gorgeous. And it's like, you know, do you promise to look after each other and love each other and everything? And they're like, yes, yes. And then, you know, we normally say in the name of the Father, the Ghost and the Holy Spirit. In Bramley Hedge they say, then in the name of the flowers and the fields, the stars in the sky, and the streams that flow down to the sea, and the mystery that breathes wonder into all these things, I pronounce you mouse and wife. It's so lovely. I love Bramley Hedge, and I haven't read this one before. So I read Summer Story, absolutely, like, highly recommend all the Bramley Hedge books. I then picked up this that I thought was a children's book, and I got this from a charity shop, and this is the Puffin Book of Magic Verse, chosen by Charles Causley, and because it was a Puffin book and it just looks very like childlike, I thought I was just going to be like children's little magical poems. No, it's different, like poems from tribes around the world. I like lovely illustrations like that. Let me show you the back as well, like cute illustrations, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is a bit dark, but okay. I then turned the page, get ready, I turned the page, what is that? And then it says underneath it, curses. Look at it, haunting curses. And I'm thinking, oh, it's a bit dark for children. Oh no, it's different tribes from around the world, and their curses, like this is a spell to destroy life. Okay, this is a charm for striking fear into a tiger and hardening one's own heart. Oh dear, like it's just curses, her strong enchantments failing, like just mad man in the wilderness where she weaves by night and day. Just how to destroy someone's life, really, with these little coffins next to it, and on the coffins they say R.I.P. Like what? I'm sorry, just about that. I apologise if you saw that. I thought this was for children, but it's definitely not. But it's really interesting to about like different tribes and the stuff that they do. And also I'm learning little stuff. For example, did you know that when people used to eat hard-boiled eggs, they used to, when they'd finished with the egg, like crush the egg and crush through the eggs, because there's this little like tail that witches would get into little eggs that have been used. So like the shell of an egg, witches would get into a shell of an egg and ride off on your shell of an egg. So you've got to like smash that egg open so a witch doesn't steal it. I have tabbed a poem in it, which I absolutely love, which is called Halloween. It's by Leonard Clark, and I'm going to read you like a tiny bit of it. I don't really like when people in their videos like start reading out bits of books, so I'm never going to read anything like long out to you. This is just a tiny little bit of it. This is the night when witches fly on their whizzing broomsticks through the wintry sky. Steering up the pathway where the stars are strewn, they stretch their skinny fingers to the waking moon. And then it goes on, it's all about Halloween night, and I absolutely adore it. There's a lot of Shakespeare, so there's a lot of stuff from like The Tempest and different Shakespearean plays. Really like such a mix. It's the oddest book I've ever like encountered, but I really enjoyed that. I finished Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day. In my last reading vlog I spoke about this. It's about a woman who, she's always been like a governess and a maid, and then she takes up this post where she thinks she's going to be a kind of nanny, and then this glamorous woman opens the door and is like, come in and help me, and the woman doesn't have any children, and Miss Pettigrew is kind of like whisked up in this woman's life, and this woman's a nightclub singer and just kind of accompanies around her own life. I finished it, loved it. I've been told that the film is very different from the book, so I'm not going to go near the film, but the book, oh my god, this is by Winifred Watson, and Winifred, oh, love her, love the writing, so whimsical, so lovely, like just beautiful illustrations within it as well, very like simplistic style but gorgeous illustrations. Cannot recommend this book enough, absolutely fantastic. And then now I've started another book because I'm trying to avoid Dracula, which I'm gonna have to like stop reading these books and get back to Dracula. But this I got from a charity shop is The Magical Years of Beatrix Potter. This is by Margaret Lane. Oh my god, just look at it. And this is Margaret has made a book about Beatrix Potter's life. I have two other books about Beatrix Potter's life. I have the, oh, let me show you quickly. I got this one, which is really good. This is a National Trust pocket book, The Real World of Beatrix Potter, and it's all about her farming life, because if you didn't know, Beatrix Potter, when she died, she was a farmer and she had loads of land. And she left it to the National Trust because she didn't want people to build on that land. She wanted to keep the countryside as it was. So this is a book just about like her land and keeping it as it was. I have another great Beatrix Potter book. This is The History of the Tale of Peter Rabbit. If you didn't know how Peter Rabbit came about, is that Beatrix Potter wrote to her ex-governess who had children. She wrote to the small children the tale of Peter Rabbit, just in letters that she used to send them, these kind of whimsical letters. She then asked the child, can I have those letters back because I want to put them into a book, and that's where this tale of Peter Rabbit came from. But this book is, it's like published by Warner, but it doesn't have an author on it because it's just a series of writings, Frederick Warner, and it's between the publishers and Beatrix Potter about Peter Rabbit. So there's a history of the book in there, and then there's her original transcript, and then it has all the letters, that the correspondence between Beatrix Potter and her publishers, and how the book became published and what things they wanted her to change about the book, and then there's paragraphs about it, and it really goes into depth about those letters. So cannot recommend those books enough. So now I'm reading another one about Beatrix Potter's life, and this is a really great one. This really gives you a feel about Beatrix Potter's life, because she, I'll tell you a bit about her, like I can't stop talking about her, but she was someone who was very shy and lonely as a child. Her parents she didn't interact with, and then when, how old was she when her brother was born? I did write it down. I'm like writing notes as well, so I've got my own notes about her. But she didn't really have anyone around her, and then I believe when she was 5, her brother Bertram was born, and her brother used to go out and collect dead animals, and she used to paint them, and that's where her like love of illustration and art came from, with her and her brother Bertram collecting these animals and live animals, and they really had passion for it, and they were incredibly close. He then got sent off to school, and the reason Beatrix never went to school is because she was a girl. Her parents were very wealthy, but they didn't see the point of educating her because she was a girl. So she spent her time completely isolated, and this book really goes into that, which I like, because she didn't have friends because her parents didn't put her around other children. She didn't go to school, and her parents were very distant from her, so she was completely isolated by herself, and very much like this isolated, lonely child, only child by herself, because her relationship with her brother was gone because he was off at school. But then in later life, when he finished his education, him and Beatrix actually used to go on holiday together, and they were very close, which I think is lovely. And I love, look at this picture of her and Bertram. Oh, look at her smiling at him. Oh my god, you probably can't see it probably, but it's such a lovely picture. There's like a little dog on a stool in between them, and her brother's like smiling, and she's like smiling at him like that. Oh, I love their like friendship with her and her brother. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this book. I am like 79 pages in, and I just started it yesterday, and I think it's stunning. It's got illustrations of the time, so you can know at the time what women would have worn. So there's like an example of it there, so what women would have worn, so what her mother would have worn when she was a small child, what she would have looked at, also where she lived. There's a picture, well, it's an illustration of the street, so it gives you a real feel of her life, but then a lot of it is just like written facts about her life. It's interesting learning about her parents because she didn't really have a connection with her mum, and her mum was very kind of subservient to her father and just did kind of needlework, and Beatrix wasn't into needlework. Even though she had to do it, she wasn't that interested in that, and her dad was a bit of a tyrant who spent a lot of time outside of the house in clubs and drinking, but he was wealthy and he was successful and everything, and not a lot's known about him, but the things that you hear about him you're like, oh, because Bertram, when he had finished with school, spent as much time as he could out of the family home, but he did go on these holidays with Beatrix, but he didn't want to be in the family home, which just kind of says, oh, maybe like that wasn't the best kind of scenario, or their dad wasn't the best. And it was a time, I suppose, when Beatrix wouldn't really, she never said anything negative towards her parents. She never really said a lot about her parents because you just wouldn't kind of slag them off out of respect. So it's interesting learning about all that different stuff, and also getting Margaret's take on things, that she's saying like, oh, this is interesting, this here and that here, and it is interesting about, oh my god, I'm going to stop going on, but it is interesting about her diary, why she was so secretive of all her things, like why as a child would you be that secretive, I don't know, but it's interesting. The whole thing's interesting. I'm going to go and read Dracula now. It is the 1st of October, so this is going to be my last clip in the video, and I started the month reading Dracula, and I'm ending the month still reading Dracula. 1st of October, still haven't finished it. I feel like it's got great like visions within it though. I'm liking all the visions and the scenery that is building up, but I just can't feel like the motivation to want to keep reading it, but I am going to keep reading it. I feel like once I've finished it, I'll be like, I'm really glad that I did read it. I have also started another book, and I've nearly finished it. It's Disturbance by Marianne Kavanagh, and this was sent to me by Hodder and Stoughton. It came out this year. First up, terrible book cover, but great book. The cover makes it seem like it's a horror, and it's not. It's a psychological thriller. So it's about a middle-aged woman who, she's in like an unhappy marriage, and her like one of her sons is kind of judging her. He's like, my dad treats you like crap, like why are you with him? And then she forms a friendship with an 18-year-old girl who lives in the village. So they form their friendship and kind of like alliance, and then a death happens. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to talk about it more in my wrap up, obviously, when I've finished it, but it goes into so many different subjects of like abusive marriages and how that sends shockwaves not only throughout your life, but the people around you feel that as well. So good, like really fantastic book. And I started it a few days ago, and I'm on page 215 already, just flying through it. Really great. So many different like twists and turns, and then another person comes into the story and they give you a completely different perception of one of the main characters. So you think you know who the main character is and you kind of get what she's about, and then this other person comes in and tells you something completely different about them. So you're thinking, wait, are they telling the truth? Am I right with what I already was thinking? Really like fantastic thriller so far though. Haven't finished it, and I do feel like with thrillers, if I am loving it, it does really depend on the end. If the end gets too Lifetime movie, too many twists, too many turns, just absolute fantasy, then it does let down the book for me. So I haven't finished it yet, but so far really enjoying it. I'm going to end this reading vlog here. I'm sorry it hasn't been more exciting. There's been no kind of like nice montages of coffees and cats, and it's just been me updating you on my reading, but I hope it was interesting, and I'm doing a video every day in October for Halloween, so I'll see you tomorrow for another video.